Welcome to Adventures of the Awakening Heart, where we delve into the stories of those who, either through their work or general life experience, are discovering the magnificent power of the heart. And today I'm welcoming Dr. Gabriele Sigg. So before I introduce her, I will do a bit of a formal introduction so you can find out a bit about her background, and then we'll start chatting. So Gabriele grew up and still lives in Germany, although she has lived in many other countries across the world during her research and her studies. And as a young adult, she studied philosophy and sociology. Her PhD thesis was exploring honor as the basis of a healthy society. Gabriele's particular expertise is Greek philosophy, as well as the German poets and thinkers. And she's able to translate original Western ideas on what we need for a fulfilled life into our modern language. A special area of interest for Gabriele is the importance of emotional education, her desire being that we can move towards a more balanced system of education where there isn't the current mind-emotional polarization. In her work today, Gabriele is a university lecturer. She's a published author, having written and contributed to many articles and several books. She supports people to connect and feel their emotions through her courses and individual coaching sessions. And she's co-founder and editor-in-chief of the gorgeous Beautyfull Life magazine. I will be putting links to all of these things below. She says it is her mission to create a balanced society that embodies love, freedom, and honor. So welcome, Gabriele. Really nice to connect with you.
Thank you so much, Liz, for this beautiful and warm welcome and introduction.
That's
honored.
a pleasure. A pleasure. So before I begin the interview, I would like to take a few moments for us all, Gabriele, myself, and you who are watching, to center ourselves in our hearts. I feel that this will allow us to engage with our discussion, not only using the logic of our minds, but also the knowing of our hearts. So let's just take a couple of moments to do that. So I invite you to find yourself a relaxed, seated position and to start to bring your attention to your breath and really feel that breath coming in and out of your body, allowing it to go deep into your abdomen. Now, you may like to place a hand, the palm of your hand, over your heart center, which is in the middle of your chest. And as you focus on your breath and bring your attention to your heart, you may like to soften your gaze or even close your eyes. So notice that breath coming in and flowing out of your body. And as you do, notice your muscles letting go of any tension and feel yourself sinking into your chair. Enjoy this feeling of relaxation. And let us now come together and set an intention that we will receive exactly what we need from this conversation. And take another deep breath. You can drop your hand. And that's that nice feeling of connected heart energy. Gabriele, I'm going to welcome you. And I'm really looking forward to this. Just one more thing to say before we start. I have my dog in the room today, which is not what I would normally do, but with my partner being away, she is in here. I'm hoping she's going to stay quiet for the duration of the interview, but if you hear the odd little bark, you'll know what's going on. Anyway, Gabriele, Lovely to have you here, and I'm so excited to speak to you today. I think we've already decided that you've got such a wonderful, rich background and have studied so many varied things that we could talk about, that we're probably not going to cover everything today. But what I really want to focus on to begin with and really give people an insight into is your life story, how you got to be where you are today, how you've learnt all the various things, particularly about emotions and the heart. And so, if you don't mind, I'm going to start in your early days. You grew up in Germany, and how was that? Did you have a happy childhood? Was it challenging at times? You don't need to go into great detail, but just give us a flavor of what it was like for you growing up in Germany.
Yeah, thank you so much for this warm welcome and appreciation. I'm I'm really touched. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, I grew up in Germany in the beautiful landscape in South Germany, close to the river Lake of Constance. Maybe just some people know. And I'm at the moment back there for some time. And yeah, what I loved here was this nature. Um, I was always very connected to the nature as a child, running around outside, like feeling also a lot of freedom because I didn't have helicopter parents. What so I got the village was a safe place. And yeah, for sure, there were also challenges, and well, I think for me the most, because I dived a lot in the story. Well, Germany was a war country, and my father was born in the war, my mother shortly later, and I think that affected me. So this whole surrounding on a subtle level, I found out throughout my story. And as a child, even I was sitting in nature a lot, just feeling kind of, wondering how does the world function and how is everything connected. So
That's
um
lovely. Did you have
yeah.
siblings? Do you have siblings?
Yes, well, I'm the fifth child, the last,
Oh,
with a little bit
wow.
surprise. Yeah, so all my three sisters, one brother, and they are 7 to 13 years older, so there was quite a huge gap, and for sure it influenced me. I
Mm,
always said
mm.
I had four mothers. Which was a struggle, which was a struggle. So actually I had a better connection to my brother and my father, and later also, men, and with women I sometimes struggled. Yeah, that's a wide topic.
Mm.
Well, I went to school, to German, like classical kindergarten school. I went to a very good school. That was a luck. Um, so school was actually very easy for me. I loved going to school. I didn't like
Mm.
kindergarten. That was kind of too boring. I don't know. So I was happy when I went to school, and I loved my teachers, and it was really, I liked going to school, and I liked what I learned, and I was good in what I learned there. So I just passed it. For
And what
sure,
were
I
you?
had also struggles like teenagers, yeah. So yeah,
I was
so I
just gonna, sorry, I'm interrupting you. I was just gonna ask, what were you particularly interested in your school days? What subjects drew your attention, particularly in those days?
actually, sorry, actually, I loved maths.
Hmm.
Maths was my favorite subject, and foreign languages, those two.
Okay.
I also
Yes.
liked other stuff, but those two actually were the very favorite ones. And I
Mm.
always, when I was a teenager, I collected my money to travel in my holidays. So, so because I love traveling, and I had the luck because my oldest sister, she went to Spain when she was 19 and I 6. So I spent a lot of my childhood in Spain,
Mm.
because she did an au pair there, and this boy was my age, and so he came visiting me, and I visited him.
Ah, Yeah, lovely.
So
So from a young age, you were getting a sense of, still Europe, but you're getting a sense of slightly different cultures, um, and opening your eyes to different ways that people interact and yeah, social structures.
yes, yes, that's for sure. And my parents were also very hospital. Like we often have,
Hospitable.
yeah, I'm German. Sometimes I don't know the
That's
hospital.
fine.
Yeah, so for,
Hospit
hmm?
I think you mean hospitable, do you?
Hospitable, yes.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
example, there were programs that sometimes students needed a home to stay, when we have exchanges, but also when there was no exchanges. So we always were like had an open home. Like my parents,
Mm.
they come from the same village, grew up there, but they had this hospitability. Yeah, so that was also an attitude I think I got from my parents. So, and
Yes.
we grew up like this with being with different yeah, cultures.
Well,
But
I've met a few German people
mhm.
throughout my life, and I've always found them to be very hospitable. So that sounds like it
Hospitable.
was typical.
Yes.
um,
So
so so it sounds like you were very mind driven. As a child, you loved learning. Maths was your favorite subject. When was it that you thought perhaps I'd like to go and do further education and into the academic side of things?
well, the thing is, how can I say? I didn't like, I also did a lot of sports. I loved doing sports,
Okay.
playing volleyball, riding to school by bike. So I was also very sportive. But I would say nowadays it was more also the masculine sports. I started doing dancing later. Um, and the thing is, I didn't really know quite what to do. I wasn't like, oh, some people knew it. I was thinking someday, oh, I'm going to become a stewardess. Oh, I was going to work in a hotel. But yeah, it was not really clear. And I'm not coming from, my parents don't have an academic background. But I was very good at school. And so everybody recommended me to study. So I was quite struggling with that because I didn't want to study, but as three people said, well, you should actually study. So I did that, and it was not, I didn't know, before I went to university, I, I take a year off to go to New Zealand to get my head clear and improve my English, and did work and travel there, was an au pair, looked after children. Yeah, then it kind of happened, I thought, yeah, I want to know where's my life and going, but then I had an application for university. It said no. Actually, it was good. I'm happy about that. And I ended up in then I found a sociology. I didn't really know what it was. And because one of my sisters lived there with her husband and they were expecting a baby, I thought, okay, there were 3 universities left. I'll go there.
Mhm.
And there I met actually my most important teacher. Um,
Okay. So this was at your first degree in sociology, is that right?
First degree in sociology. Yes. So it's
Mm.
basically, well, it's different to separate. I say sociology, philosophy,
Mm.
because I think it's together. Like the way I learned it, it belongs together, and my teacher taught it together. So we also had
Okay.
courses in Plato, and
Ah,
um,
yeah.
maybe we dive in there a
In a
bit
little
later, but it's sociology, philosophy. It's about how to build a society based on philosophical principles like
mm.
love, honor, and justice.
Mm.
Um, because not every sociologist nowadays thinks about that. They go into market analysis or whatever.
Yeah.
So sociology has changed over the years, I would say.
Mm.
And while I did the studies, mm, I just record. Well, I loved studying, and I used the studies just to discover myself. Because in sociology, you learn how you were conditioned by society, and this conditioning keeps you away from being yourself. But what I basically did, from outside it looked like I'm not doing anything. I was lying on my couch and feeling, oh, what do I think? What is thinking in me? Where are all those thoughts coming? Is it really what I think? And I thought that's what we also do in sociology. Oh, in you there's society, and a lot of thoughts you got put in your child, they're not from you. They're coming from somewhere else. Also, not only from your parents, from all the culture, all the history, and they're really crazy things in myself. Well, what is this?
So it sounds like you were exploring, as we all do at that sort of age, what is it that I really want in my life, what
Yes.
I really believe in? And maybe you more than others, because you were studying sort of social constructs, you were seeing how that worked for you and what was real for you, what really resonated with you, or what perhaps had come from your culture, your parents, your teachers, etc.
Yes, exactly. And what you put it in the really good terms, but it wasn't a conscious, it was more like an intuition. The way to go. And also an intuition, that feels right. I loved my professor. He was a really good professor. And looking, okay, what do I want to, what is my calling basically? Yeah, what is, I think everybody has a calling, and it doesn't mean always need something huge or big, but a purpose, like the rose has its blossoming, it brings us beauty. There's the butterfly. Everybody has a thing to do. And getting away from that conditioning that tells us what to do, or puts us in something we are not. So I worked through that during my studies as that was my free time job, because the university, they were just having all this in the mind. It was confusing me. They had it in the mind, criticizing it, and then doing exactly the same. And I really thought that was so confusing. So, and I always wished, why don't we talk about this and then not like face it or solve it, or this.
The professor you loved particularly, you said one of your most important teachers, was he open to other ways of learning, or did he go from a more intuitive place?
Yeah, well, I would say this is the thing. I often choose, first of all, the male professors, because I found them more balanced. Because the women were a lot of very rational, maybe because they had to prove they are also good, so they were. And the other female professor we had in another subject, she was like a mother, and I had 4 mothers. I don't need somebody,
I need any more.
So the other students loved her, somebody cares for you. I was like, oh my God, no, not another one. So I was like, more like, I loved the freedom of my professor. When I had a problem, I made an appointment and talked to them, and then I was off.
Yes.
But this one particular professor, because I was also studying, and okay, I did that at school. What is this all new? Should I really just repeat and give and repeat and give what they want to hear? So in a conversation we had one day, he said, this studying is actually something, it's Selbststudium, self-study. All studies is self-study. He came from that, actually, I call him German poet and thinker, classical German university system. So he had that thing of, you're an adult, you need to learn, you're not a child, I'm looking after you, so find your own questions. So and he gave me really a lot of freedom to also do that what I did later, the PhD thesis about honor, I couldn't have done without him, because he gave me the freedom, because he felt, okay, there's something in you that is important, and then you follow that. For sure, with all the academic knowledge, but you have to find your own way, he also told me.
Yes.
So there was a lot of preparation for the PhD, and he gave me actually the room, because it's a very difficult topic. And I think in the current academic system, it wouldn't be allowed, because you have to measure, and it's very rigid. And he had a combination of intuition and academic background. But
So remind us again the topic of your PhD.
it's honor as the basis of a just and healthy society.
And what led you to that actual topic, particularly?
Well, I don't know. I always had an honor drive within me, like a justice drive.
Yeah.
If something wasn't just, I can get really angry. So
Yeah.
justice was always a very hard topic, and you do that in sociology a lot. And then I read about the Turkish, in Germany we have the honor killings,
Mm.
and it's a
Oh,
big topic, that I summarize it, that some Turkish man killed a Turkish woman because she doesn't behave, means if
okay.
she has sexual intercourse with somebody the brother doesn't like or
Yeah.
whatever, or before marriage, it's possible they kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading this in the beginning of my 20s, and then I thought, are they kidding? Should I cry now or should I laugh? What does this to
Yeah.
do with honor? So
Yeah.
and then this is so weird. And I was talking to professors who were talking about that, and so I got very angry. And then I did an internship in the Goethe Institute. It's a German cultural institution in Istanbul while I studied. And I went to the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew honor was more than this honor killing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in academic, it's always you have to say what's already there and what is missing. And I said, well, actually, and I can prove with philosophical things, this has nothing to do with honor.
Mm.
And this is honor. So I showed what it's about honor in trade, about justice society. So because of my father was a tradesman, and he worked in a bank, but he was a traditional merchant. He had honor, he wouldn't exploit. And he also got very angry about the system changing, and the bankers would exploit the clients. So I have this a bit from him also.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I just broadened it in my studies, actually. So it came a bit from my background, because I came from a more economic focused family.
So
And
when you're in Turkey, you say you're at the Goethe Institute for.
yes, Goethe Institute. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah.
So what did the people of Turkey that you met and discussed with, did they know your feelings on, or how, what you'd learned about the honor killings? Did you discuss that with them? Did they know that was some part of what had motivated you?
The thing is that this whole honor killing thing belongs to a very certain group in Turkey.
Okay.
It's not that all Turkish people think like this. But this is not central knowledge in German, because in Germany we have, or the group that makes a lot of attention is the group that brings a lot of problems. And we don't talk about the actually whole Turkish culture.
Yes, yes.
This is a really vivid and beautiful culture, and they were so helpful. I loved the bazaar. Like I always say, I healed my feminine side in Turkey.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I struggled in university, and basically because I recognized further that it was hurting on my body, this always being in the mind. And for sure I did my sports and looked well, but at one point I also disbalanced. I was much more balanced. Like I often said, as a teenager I was much more balanced, and this system disbalanced me. Although I tried to rebalance it, this whole being on the mind, it did something to my body.
Interesting. So you mean the academic world, you
Yes.
obviously came into university wanting to explore the deeper parts of you, but then you felt the sort of masculine energy on atmosphere was a problem.
Was a problem because it's a very competitive structure.
Yes, particularly when you're in PhD,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah.
And there's a very healthy way of competition, but it's not about, what you research. At the end, it's only getting into power games and,
Mm, mm,
and then the whole thing with Turkey and all that, there's a huge rejecting of knowing because the general, they want to see it that way to feel we are superior and that better than them.
mm-hmm.
So they
Okay.
don't really want to know this. So, for whatever reason.
You mean they
But
don't want to know because their culture, their history is so rich, and in terms of, the heart, it is.
yes, it's and this is what it was not only the bazaar or the economy. The economy is centered around the heart. So
What
it's not only about,
their,
huh?
their, their current system is,
Um, the,
the current
the
economical
no,
system.
no, 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 the bazaar system. I
Oh,
think
I
the
see.
bazaar,
Right.
for
Yes.
sure, the economy has changed
Mm,
around the world.
mm,
There too, but I still feel the Turkish culture is more heart-centered.
yeah.
This is
Okay.
also, it has to do with, I call it a feminine culture or mother cultures. There are mother
Mm,
cultures and father cultures, or feminine or masculine cultures.
mm,
How, for example? First of all, the Bazari, for example, say um, the bazaar is the mother of trade. They don't say it's the father of trade.
right.
Ticaretin
Okay.
annesi. So
Mm-hmm.
the main street is Anna Cadde. Anna is Anne. It comes from the mother. The
Mm-hmm.
the the constitution. I think it's the constitution in Germany. It's always with father or with main.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Anayasa. That's
Mm,
it all. They all. It's the main street. Yeah, is the mother. So there's a lot of things which comes from the feminine, and their whole language is relational. Um,
right.
and it's always about the relation. The whole language is,
Mm.
it's so funny because if you have a free word and you change part of the word, you have to arrange the others.
I
They
see.
call it
Okay, so
vocal
they relate
harmony.
to one another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's always about the relation, the
Mm,
relation of the door to the car,
mm. Okay, okay.
Um,
So what is it about the bazaar, how the economy works in the bazaar? I actually went there for the first time just a few months ago, but what is it that relates to the heart then about the way that they trade and do business in the bazaar?
so what I found out is what we have is fixed prices in the Western world, and we think if
Mm,
everybody
mm,
pays the same, this is just.
mm,
So they say, not it's also unconscious, but the principle is we do trading, so they can give, if there's a student, they can sell it for less than to the
mhm.
salesman, yeah, to
Okay.
businessman.
Yeah.
And the Western world thinks, oh, this is unfair, and this
Mm,
goes back to philosophy.
mm,
um there is a way of doing trade which is related to the situation and the needs of people.
mm.
And
Right.
I think this is a mother principle. This is, we
Mm,
care. It's called
yeah.
also in the research, in the academic, care ethics. There was a
Mm,
woman, Carol Gilligan. She brought that in years ago, and she also had a lot of struggle.
mm.
Um, and those care ethics, look, you look around yourself. You don't know, oh, it's only me. This is the
Yes.
Western, me.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
there's also other people.
Mm,
Um, and so it's not just, oh, they, from the outside they say, oh, you do, they just make whatever price. That's not true. They have a certain variety of a price, so from this price, from this is the lowest and this is the highest, and
mm,
within that you can trade.
interesting.
And
Okay.
the idea that they go so high came from the tourist, because
Yes.
beforehand the bazaar was only for the local people and they knew,
Mm,
kind of.
mm,
But then somebody said, yeah, you have to go high and this and that.
mm, mm,
So the Bazari told me, I have now, actually beforehand, I just made this price. this is also playing game, you know. They need
Mm.
a certain price to cover their costs and also get
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
some, what is that called? They need to make a
Profit.
win. Yeah.
Yes.
So now he says, I just changed. I start now very high to finally get what I got before.
Okay. Right.
Because
Okay.
there's this rumor the bazaar is also evil. But if you look from the other side, you
Mm.
know, the tourists are sometimes evil too because they want everything for 1 lira.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's
Absolutely.
yeah, okay.
Yes.
If you want something for a lira, you have to buy something cheap, but sometimes there's really high quality. So
Mm.
the basic
Mm.
is I don't say you can, and why this is important for the justice.
Mm.
Um, there is our wages around the world, they are not the same and they are not
Mm.
just. We are,
Mm.
yes,
Mm.
for sure. People put in put in their energy, they do a lot of work. But it's
Mm.
not only the work you put in, it's also how much society pays for you. We
Mhm.
still, with all the feminist movement, we still have a problem in Germany. Okay, if you're a woman and you go into technology, you get very well paid. But if you're a woman or a man looking for children or
Mm.
being a
Mm.
nurse, you are very low paid.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I think it doesn't really have changed because they make all the women go to industry jobs. But
Yes.
the current problem of valuing feminine qualities
Yes.
hasn't been addressed yet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at least this idea of not fixed prices says, okay, at
Mm.
least I can give them less because they have less.
Absolutely. Because trading, buying and selling in our culture
Hmm?
is a very competitive, quite ruthless, often depends what industry, obviously, but it is, you know, about maximizing profit, and there's not much feminine in that. But what you're talking about, you know, they're still getting the profits they need, but they are in that process looking after those that can't afford as much.
Yes, and
Um,
if we look honestly on economies, that's not stable every day. And on the
mm,
bazaar, you can
yeah.
see it. It's you see it's changing every day. 1 euro is not 1 euro the
Mm,
other day.
mm, yes.
So that's
Yes.
also a construct, fix things. That's a masculine. They want it's stable
Yeah.
control. But in nature, everything is all a bit flow. Okay,
They're
if it's too
changing. Yeah.
changing, it's also not right. But they
Mm,
have a variety of the price, and they can look. Okay, how is the circumstances? And they
mm,
also, it's very interesting. They always ask, "What is your budget?" And not if somebody asks what is the price, they ask what is your budget. So it gives the possibility to look what's possible for you, or I say no, and this
mm,
budget I just don't have anything.
mm, mm, mm,
And
mm,
for sure people will exploit it, but you can exploit, this is the thing, it's about your character. You can exploit with fixed prices or with this
yeah.
bargaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at it. Sometimes you buy sneakers, they are 150 euros, and out of nowhere, half a year later, they are 30 euros.
Mm.
So this
Yeah.
fixed idea of fixed price is an illusion. They do the same, just in another way.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's
and
very true.
yeah,
I wanted to go back just to what you were saying earlier about this imbalance that you were feeling while you were in the academic world. I think you said it affected your health, did it?
yes, it did quite a lot.
Mm,
Like this masculine world, I would grow up. I think
mm,
Germany is a very masculine world, country, which it you yes, the woman go can do everything, but it's masculine, and this affected my health
mm,
massively
mm,
because I feel I'm too feminine, and I try to care for my feminine side, but this whole how everything structures and functions, it's not for the feminine.
At the
So
time, did you understand that that was what was causing the problems with your
I
health?
well
Were you
I
getting a feeling of that?
uh I just I felt that I kind of felt I'm kind of not functioning like everybody else.
Mm,
And I didn't know why. And
mm,
it was, I had an idea, like I felt that early, but I wouldn't be able to name it. But the thing is, in Germany, you always have the story of the Turkish men are so bad. I
mm,
healed my feminine side in Turkey
mm,
because they value the feminine in women. And it's not about sexuality or any that. It's a general thing that the woman is in a good place and they care for her. For sure, there's always people, not
Mm.
everybody, yeah, but there's a general attitude. And I felt more in Turkey, I can be a woman and an academic. While in
Mm.
Germany,
Mm.
they don't take you serious if I should cut my hair and be like,
Mm. Mm.
so this is what you can see when you look in the German TV. This is so because there is a subconscious assumption the feminine is can't do anything or
Mm.
is maybe is corrupt or it's never said or spoken.
Mm. Mm.
And I just felt I can't really be myself. And
Mm.
um, like I said, I was a really good student. I'm not saying to show off. I got scholarships and this, but the problem started when I spoke more about the feminine
Mm.
cultures and
Yeah.
things that were not on their lands. Um, and yeah, and this brought me into different troubles and struggles.
So moving on slightly then, once you'd finished your PhD, where did you go with your career at that point?
Well, when I finished my PhD, yeah, that was 2017. Well, yeah, so the thing is actually I'm not a feminist and I don't like to, for me it's really about balancing and about bringing
Mm. Mm.
valuable to the other. And I'm saying this because this whole bashing of patriarchy doesn't
Mm.
really quite
No, no.
go there. And I set up actually a job while I was studying, while I finished my PhD. But this boss was hassling me. Like it was a philosophical magazine, very high regarded. So I first was about to get money from the state, but then found a job in the university system. But they are all always, for 1 year. And then it was for Corona. So then there came the Corona period. So I started offering coachings.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
showing what I've learned, which is basically feeling your feelings and emotions.
Okay. So just
So
just to cut in very quickly there, just so I'm clear, and we're all clear. So you're talking about the coronavirus sort of lockdown phase,
yeah,
and so that led you in a slightly new direction. And at that point, you thought, I want to bring what I've learned on a philosophical side of things and bring it into how people can relate to themselves now. And you did that through coaching.
kind of, yes. So I continued. I had the teaching obligations at different university, and the good
Okay.
thing with Corona is you started to have these courses on Zoom. That was
Yes.
quite practical.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, I started offering what I learned, like in my philosophical, sociological experience, as well, what I kind of already accomplished in my emotional health.
Mm.
Um,
How had you, when you were feeling this imbalance and you were struggling with the sort of emphasis on the male and the mind and the logic and the reason, how did you get that balance right in yourself? Did you go to therapists or coaches, or did you do the work on yourself?
Well,
Or
I did a lot on myself because I felt the coaches I went to a psychologist once, they they are also in the mind. I had friends I was talking, and basically I learned to care more for myself. But I did that
Mm,
also when I was 17. I always looked very well for myself.
mm,
But there was still something I had took a long time to reach. But it was basically, yeah, having time. What I always recommend, having a date with your soul daily,
mm,
having
mm.
breaks within, not just
Yes.
running. And it can be small, little breaks. It can be you do
Mm,
something, then you have 5 minute break, breathe in, feel,
mm,
how do you feel? And I
mm,
did a lot of, how would I say? I worked a lot on the collective drama of German society, which was in me. I
mhm.
feel because I think this whole suppression of the feminine has to do with the war and all of that.
Interesting. Okay,
Yes.
how did you do that? Was that again your own self-reflection, and or did you do deeper work? Did you sort of do hypnosis, or um, going deep into past traumas?
Yeah, I went basically, I didn't do hypnosis.
Mm,
It's more feeling, like it's not
mm,
self-reflection. I think it's the mind,
mm,
but basically, what do I feel? And
mm,
feel that feeling. So, and I think a lot of our women's pain is in the first two chakras. Even if we haven't had a real big, because it took me ages to understand why do I feel so weird. Um, it's in the history, we lived,
mm,
women had long trouble for a very long time, and I felt all those shame, guilt. Guilt. I felt guilty for things. My logical mind, why do you feel guilty? So also this turning things around, that the woman feels guilty for something she hasn't done.
mm. Why,
So
why do you say the first two chakras? Just talk me through that a bit more. Why do you
um,
feel that
I
particularly is an issue?
yeah. So the first two chakras are the ones who ground us
Mm,
in life,
mm,
and also the one, our sexuality as women, we were objectified.
mhm,
um and having a really, I think out there is a lot of, either there's the suppression of the sexuality or the
mm,
pornography.
mhm, yeah,
So, and I think for all of it there is no concept.
mm,
So what feels right for you, what is in alignment with you, and that can change. And
mm,
feeling the emotions, and it's not, I cannot explain it, because it's oh, I feel guilt now for I don't know what,
mm,
or struggling with money and income. This is also classical topic, not for the women, for the
mm,
feminine. So
mhm,
because we bypass that, okay, going technology, I wouldn't have that problem.
mhm,
But if I want to do something feminine in this world, I don't feel it's so much appreciated.
mm, mm. So could it be, I'm just thinking, it's so interesting that how the masculine and the feminine has weaved its way through your life, and at times, you grew up in what you say is a masculine society, but actually you had a lot of women influence in your life, and you were perhaps a bit more drawn to your father and brother. But then as you got, through school and into the academic world, the sort of male became a bit too much, and you actually found some balance in Turkey that's got a more feminine culture, you say. So that it's interesting how you found that balance through your life. And what you're talking about now is interesting, because those lower chakras, which really relate to our body, the material aspect, bit part of us, which some people would say is the feminine. But it's interesting how you're saying imbalances in those chakras, in that part, you feel is very often the wounding that women are carrying. Um, so this balance between body and mind has been, another theme for you. What have you found? And I think I know what you're going to say, but what have you found is the key way that you've been able to help those people, either through your courses or the coaching that you got into in those years? What is it that the key way that you've found that you can help those people?
Now the
Are
key
they
way
mostly women, by the way, or is it a mix?
is a mix. It's a mix. I
Mm,
also like, well, I appreciate men a lot. I know a lot of really great men. So I'm not against men or women. It's really the balance. And
yeah.
it's always my honor when I'm allowed to also help
Mm,
men. The feminine in the man, because I think men are wounded too. And that's why
of
all the
course, yeah.
struggles, because the
Mhm,
struggles come from the wounded in the man and the wounded in the women. Um, so the core thing is feeling, helping them to feel what needs to be felt now.
mhm,
And
mhm,
we often want to jump and know in the mind or this, but feeling, giving the space to feel. The feeling
mhm,
is healing,
mm,
and giving them compassion,
mm,
giving them the compassion you couldn't give them because you were in a struggle time, or some come from childhood,
Mm,
giving the compassion to the child that didn't get the compassion that time. But I'm also not saying everything is in childhood. That's too simplified, I discovered in
mm,
that journey. And
mm,
some struggles just came from the life. And if we have a time we feel now, oh, I would like to do something, just feeling what needs to be felt now. But we
mm,
have to give away the control of the mind that wants to give the way. Because if you resolve a feeling, then yourself can be there instead of these emotions.
mm. And
Um,
how have you found people respond to this approach? Because just my work is very similar in terms of the getting people to drop into their emotions, but there is sometimes quite a lot of resistance to go there, and people will stay in the mind for as long as possible. How have you found it in terms of um, supporting people as they move into their emotions?
well, yes, I found that very difficult because the coaching market in general is very mind focused. And
Mm,
I cannot offer, you do this and then you get that. I think it's a lie anyway. You can,
mm,
you can, you can, well, how would you say, betray yourself and go over that
yeah,
emotion to get there, but it won't, it's about happiness basically,
yeah.
and being at peace with oneself. And one thing I can say, I'm at peace with myself. I don't know what life wants for me because I'm still, my life, because I went that feminine, it's in step into the unknown.
Mm,
And I just kind of, I'm not advertising anymore because I know people will find me if, because though
mm.
the people need to be ready. And
Yes,
this
yes.
is for me actually a lot of work people often don't
Mm,
understand because I don't cannot have a lot of clients,
mm,
um, because that takes time. I can have
mm,
it maybe 3 clients a week, and I need preparation and give that space and all of it. So I don't advertise really anymore. So
mm,
if
mm,
somebody's coming or getting to know me, they will come
mm,
because I cannot fix you. I can help you to feel and heal.
mm,
And it's, we have unfortunately still that, you have to achieve this and that, and achieving is a byproduct. Your
mm,
purpose um, can unfold, but there are so many factors that involves that. But the most important thing is that you feel happy with yourself and say, okay, I did what I could do.
mm. You're
This
right.
is
Many
success for me.
people, sorry, I was going to say many people do come towards therapy or coaching with the idea that okay, we want to sort that out. I want to achieve that. And like you're saying, sometimes that will happen. Um, but it's more about the journey and what you uncover on the way, and um, coming into a deeper place of just connecting with the deeper part of you. And then those goals that you thought you had might shift anyway. Um, so I guess you've learned quite a lot about yourself, as most coaches and therapists do, as you've been doing this work with others.
Yes, I always continue like my journey of learning. And for
Mm,
me, I think the most important thing, like I would bring emotional education into our education system because I think, I started to bring it in political ways. Then I started, okay, they are not ready. I start personally, but I still think it needs a general awareness in society, and it's easier if you learn it from you can very young age, because I think you have to, what is it? It's to change the habit. And this
mm,
is the most difficult thing. It takes the most time, but still, also on your journey, it's the most effective. And on a long term, if you believe in your soul's journey, it will bring you the most benefits, because
mhm,
you cannot betray your soul. Like, you can bypass those emotions over lifetimes, but
mm,
your
mm,
soul won't forget. So
mm,
the success is that you feel those emotions. And this is, we talk about freedom.
mm.
Then you will be free.
Yes,
You don't
yes.
need to go to a revolution.
Mhm,
This is true freedom, and this is how you can experience life. on a much deeper level.
You're so right. Freedom starts from within us. And wouldn't it be lovely to see young children being taught how to understand their emotions, connect with them, and relate to them? You know, from that young age, we would grow up to be such different adults if that were the case.
Yeah.
So
So,
the
so
emotional,
often
yeah, sorry.
when we speak, it's, I want to emphasize and invite people that we stop seeing emotions as something to suppress or shame, something we cannot have.
Mm,
All people in the world know the emotion, the feeling of shame,
mm,
and it's important to normalize talking about our emotions. And then I want to give another example of what I learned
mm,
in Turkey. So I was
yes.
sitting there in my research, doing my PhD, and I was working in the different jobs, in the shops there. Then, well, I was sitting in a shop with a older man. I call them the bazaris, the traditional man on the bazaar.
Mhm,
And then his friend came in. He's sitting down for tea, what they generally do. There was no clients there. So, and then they started to talk, and the owner of the shop started to say he was so sad because he was old and giving up his shop. And I was like, oh my God, do I have to go now? I was thinking to myself, he might be ashamed because he getting emotional. I should go. What? So that was my inner dialogue.
yeah.
And but I tuned in. I have sensitivity with people want me to go.
Mm,
But it
mm,
was like, no, he was sitting there, and the other guy
mm,
was like, oh yeah, just like the best course in Buddhist compassion.
yes.
They are better than anything you can learn. Sitting there, feeling,
Mm,
listening, drinking their tea. The other
mm,
guy had some tears. And then it was over. The guy
mm,
left. It was the most natural thing to them.
mm, mm,
It was like,
yeah.
it's true, but this is what the Turkish people are much better with their feeling and their emotions. I think the
Yeah.
Western people have much more problems. But
Yeah.
this, you don't need a course in compassion. This was compassion.
Mm,
And this is, for example, we look at Turkey, their economy is weak, they don't have so much money. So
mm,
this is a weak third world country, whatever. Yes, and this is exactly what I'm saying. But they have an ability we don't value as an
mm,
ability,
mm,
which
mm.
the Western world can learn a lot. And
Yeah.
especially men, and they were not like getting so, how do I say this without, they didn't lose their masculinity because they
No.
had both,
Yes.
we,
Yes.
so,
Yeah.
um, and I don't think, in my surrounding, the man would do that. I like
No.
a very
And
good friend, but this was not a close friend. They were good,
yeah.
yeah, but it was
Yeah.
a random guy in a professional context.
Mm, mm.
Um, and I found that it really touched me. And wow, I was like really,
Yeah.
yeah, because there was no feeling of I feel ashamed. And I was just sitting there drinking my tea. Okay.
I
So,
know what an amazing thing to witness, and you're so right. There's so much we could learn in
yeah.
Germany, but also in the UK, where again we're scared of too much emotion. We'll allow a little bit, but
Yes. Yes.
we're
And
scared of too much. But for that guy just to be present with that other man, you're right. There's nothing weak or overly feminine about that. It's strength and it's balance. It's lovely.
yeah,
What
it
a great
is.
lesson for you.
Yes, and it is because the idea was to, yeah, intercultural understanding. We have this, we are better than them, and they are better than that, and they are weak because they have no money. So the question
Mm,
is, why do the countries, I see now a pattern, the feminine
mm,
cultures have economic problems because they care more for each other.
yes, yes,
So,
yes.
and I think we can learn from each other, and we should really
Mm,
rethink how do we need the money to live, it's a mean to have a good living, to have a beautiful life. This is why we
yes,
have the
yes.
beautiful life. But money is not our god or the only thing. um And this is about balancing also. Who do we give what?
Yeah. Balance
And
is just the word, isn't it? Because it isn't, like you say, about bashing the masculine. We
yes,
need both, you know, and it is about them coming together. And for me, and I want to talk a bit about the heart now, for me, the body is the feminine, the mind more the masculine, and they come together in the heart. We think of the heart often as the feminine and the emotional center of our being. And yes, it is our emotional center, but it was in ancient cultures also known to be part of our intellect and our mind, and we used it for our discernment. So in the way I look at the heart, it's where the two qualities come to, the masculine and the feminine come together, and where you find that balance. What does the heart mean to you in terms of the masculine, feminine, and the emotions and the mind? Where does it fit for you?
like in ancient Greek philosophy, the
Mm.
heart was the central organ of knowledge.
Mhm.
So we have now this idea of science of the heart, measuring the heart. No, they were perceiving and knowing with their heart.
Mm.
I think it's not the feminine is the heart and the masculine is the mind. I think there's a masculine and a feminine part of the heart.
Mm.
For example, that's why it's also important for me to appreciate the masculine and the man. All those, a lot of the sociologists, how can we build a just society? This is more a masculine question, but it comes from the heart and it uses the mind to think about it.
Yeah. Yes.
So on the other side, the feeling part is out of a healthy human being, healthy structures can occur and healthy thoughts. Um, so I think the feminine heart is more for caring for each other in the relational context.
Mm.
And the masculine heart is finding a house or building a structure so that can flow together. To put it in very simple words. Still, in the relationship, we also need the masculine part saying, okay, because the feminine, we talk about the good sides from the feminine a lot, but it also has shadow sides.
Mm.
It's
Of course.
about overreacting emotionally or
Mm.
blaming, taking not the responsibility and blaming others. So it's not emotions are good only, it's cultivating the emotions
Mm.
and cultivating the heart, because we can get over emotional. If you talk in stereotypes, it's classical women, yeah. Just and we can get too rational and suppress the emotions.
Yeah.
So I think this is so it's really about the balance we need in every individual, and the balance does not always mean 50-50, and it's not the same in everyone. But why do we have actually conflicts? So this is the core center is we don't feel whole in ourselves, and we
Mm.
want more than what we maybe really need. So because
Mm.
we compensate, we buy something to feel better, but actually we lack a feeling, or we lack being in touch with ourselves. Because I still think every person should be first in a healthy relationship with themselves to have a healthy relationship with others.
Yeah.
And a lot
Absolutely.
of time what people lack is themselves, because they are disconnected to themselves, and
Mm.
going through those unpleasant emotions can reconnect them.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And this is essential.
Mm.
And then, for me, my PhD, I did that because it was my calling. I don't need the PhD. That then I would have taken a simpler way. But
Mm.
this is so hard in academic that it's not about I always thought science helps to create a better world. And there's a lot of competition, and people don't know why they do a PhD. They don't really know what they want. Then they do a PhD. We really, if everybody would ask, what is my path? We had a
Mm.
really more everybody would be there where life wanted them to be.
Mm.
And it's not you are superior when you are an academic than a worker. That's also really, really wrong attitude we have.
Mm. Mm. So, I mean, there has been this beautiful flow through your life, as we've talked about, and this trying to balance the masculine and feminine, and discovering through your own experiences, but also your deep understanding of ancient philosophy, how the heart actually contains both. Unfortunately, we've reduced the heart somewhat, and we think of it as the mechanical pump, and we think of it as our emotion holder, the very feminine side, as you said. But through your work, you're helping us to understand that actually the heart's much more than that, and that there is balance there, and we can work towards finding that wholeness, as you said, within our hearts and our whole being. And what I wanted to ask you now is, how far along do you feel you are now in terms of really integrating the male and the feminine, and the body and the mind? Where are you at with that now? Because I know that one of your more recent projects is to co-found and edit what is a most gorgeous magazine, the Beautyfull Life magazine. So where are you? Tell us about the magazine and where you are at now with finding this balance.
A lot of questions where to start. So at the moment, I feel personally in a very good place.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope things will work out in the outside, because honestly, it was a struggle to live like this. It wasn't an easy journey, and especially to ground and make an income, because the appreciation is not, because people are on AI and technology. So so I feel good with myself, and I'm trusting life. Okay, if you still want me to be here, then or have a job for me, okay. So there are projects I cannot talk about yet, but there are things on the horizon. And Beautyfull Life we created together with Benedict Just, the director of the Heart Revolution movie and Summit, because out of all that knowledge, and I hope everything I said was understandable, kind of.
Oh yes.
What to unite? We have so much struggle, intercultural struggle, class struggle. What does unite people? It's a beautiful life. Who doesn't want to have a beautiful life? What is it? We always look at the differences also in sociology. Yeah, the classes, they have different habits, and you have to have this to go to a higher position. And it's so much on what separates us instead of what unites us. And beauty, who doesn't want a beautiful life? So the magazine is actually to inspire, as well as with highly philosophical academic articles, but also really easy reads. We want to help where people stand and inspire them to create their own beautiful life. And we are not saying, oh, you only do this and then you get that. I think you often need more than one ingredient to have a beautiful life. So just maybe to summarize it, it's the emotional care. It's the right nutrition, right surrounding, the right people, and the right job. And so then you're happy. Then you don't run for another trophy and another trophy. It's actually, then you kind of, if it comes, okay, but it doesn't, what fulfills you is you need for sure an income, so you don't have to worry about it. And a job that fulfills you, and the happiness, and the inner balance. And this is we're currently working on, and trying to have a more, it's art, it's spirituality, it's science, having more aspects than just one. and
It is lovely, the
we
magazine.
can create it together. It's this is an invitation for all who you read that to create it together and start where you are now. The world wants to change. See, it's like if you move from one place to the other, it's chaotic. I wouldn't say look so much what's going on in the world. Look, what can I do now? Or it helps the world more if you ask your heart, you feel it. Where can I help? Because nobody can help on all the problems, and it doesn't help to talk about all the problem things. It's important to maybe be aware, but it doesn't help anybody. It's compassion,
Mm, mm,
but not suffer with the whole world.
mm.
You help the world when you ask, what can I do? And the world will show you. Life will give you hints and signs, and oh, this is where I could help. And
Mm.
look for yourself well, create a well surrounding. um this is actually the best we can do, because we create a new beautiful world together. And it's more than you do it, actually, because we have so much knowledge out there. So why it's still not done? And this is the thing, and what I do with my clients, but it's hard. It's like a training. When you want to run a marathon, you have to have a daily training. You don't have to run a marathon, but I recommend a daily soul date, 5 minutes only for yourself.
I love that. So before we get, because I'm about to ask you as we shift into the final section of this interview, what key lessons or insights you would impart to help those who are watching today, what they can take away, or even a practice. Before you do that, though, just going back to the magazine, it is a beautiful mix of words and text and gorgeous artwork. So I really encourage people to check it out. And like you say, you've got the more sort of in-depth philosophical articles there, but also the sort of easier reads too. So there's something for everyone. And it is about being inspired, isn't it? Because yes, there's a lot going on in our world right now that's very difficult to comprehend and deal with. So we need to keep things in our lives that keep reminding us that this is a beautiful life. And as you say, no matter what our backgrounds, what our cultures, what country we come from, what class system, what gender, on and on and on, we all are united in this desire for joy, for happiness, and to live a beautiful life. So I think the magazine really is a wonderful thing you're doing to sort of bring that inspiration to people. It's been lovely to hear your story, Gabriele. We definitely need to get you back, because I really want to talk more about the philosophy and that side of things, which is so fascinating, and you've got so much knowledge. And I would like to talk more about your ideas around emotional education too, which is such an important issue. But as we're coming up to, or we're just over an hour now, so I wanted for the last section to just get your insights. Really, you've had a really full life, and you've learned so much about balance really is the key. And you now work with clients either in groups or one-to-one sessions. So what would you say then are the key things that you feel people can take away to help them in their lives now? And it might be a practice that you feel is an important thing for people to do, or just something to keep in their minds to help them on a daily basis. What is it that you would like to gift people in that way as we move towards the end?
I just want to have a deep breath
Yeah,
in to
yeah,
ask
please.
what that might be. And the first what came up, like what I say, I would really recommend, again, I emphasize it, put it in your calendar, a daily soul date, time for yourself.
What would that look like? Would it be like half an hour,
You can,
5 minutes?
before it's, it's always better you go for a 5 minute walk than no walk. So depending how difficult is it, if you have a
Yeah.
half an hour, perfect. But if you're like, Start with 5 minutes, but put it in your calendar. It's as important
Mm.
as all the most important business week
Yes.
meeting. And then I would breathe in what you did before. I could also do a little meditation at the end. I don't know. Um, and
Yeah.
feel. And the question is always, what do I need now?
Mhm.
Because if we connect to our needs, they are often, that's why I say our stomach, first two chakras, they are there. They come from there. What do I need now? And maybe you need a rest.
Mhm.
Or whatever it is, and don't judge it with your head.
Mhm.
Take a deep breath in. What do I need now? Or you just want to cry, then cry.
Mhm.
Just get a hustle of a rest from that hustle, and do that daily, because then, oh, there's part of you, your subconscious wants to speak to you for a long time. Um, but it's like a friend calling, hey, you want to talk to me, and you always say, no, I don't have time, I don't have time. So it's like being your better friend.
Mhm.
So for me, sometimes when I work with people, I just go out because I'm high sensitive, I would say. Souls, sometimes they come to me because they feel I hear them, because they cannot get they cannot get through to their to their actual person, so they use me
Yeah.
to talk to them. So I cannot do that. So sometimes in the work I try, but I just see the urge of so many souls
Yeah.
wanting to speak to
Mm.
their friend.
Yeah.
They can't, and
Isn't
they
it
don't
amazing?
listen.
Isn't it amazing how we go through our life and we go through our days and we just don't stop and ask, what is it I need right now? I mean, that is such a simple thing that we can all do several times a day, just for a moment. Just stop and what do I need right now? But we don't do we? Um,
Yes, yes. And this is actually, we talk so much of change and everything.
mm,
It doesn't need to be complicated. I always try to keep things simple. And this is the most, yeah, you ask what, you shouldn't do anything because the mind is like, I'm not occupied. Yes, it's about not being occupied with the mind. Ask, and this is, keep it simple. What do I need now? And this is, I want to keep it simple. And
would you?
always, what,
Sorry. Sorry.
sorry?
Sorry, I interrupted you. I was wondering if you did want to finish with just us doing that. You
Yes,
actually
yes, we can
doing
do
that with
that.
us. Yeah,
Yes, I could do a little if you want. I used to do that. We could also end with a meditation about the. I always had a balancing the masculine and the feminine in the heart meditation.
that sounds absolutely perfect for all that we've been discussing today. I can't think of anything
And
more perfect.
I don't know, I will just say what my
Yeah,
soul is guiding
yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah.
because we talked a
Do,
lot
do,
now. And
so just before we get into that, because we'll finish with that, just to send people off in that nice centered way. But is there anything else? Because we are going to have another chat. We have to. But is there anything else you wanted to say that relates to our discussion today, just to finish?
actually, I would just want to say thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I hope it inspired the feminine in you.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it did. It's been a real pleasure. So you move us now into this slightly different space.
Yeah.
I'll let you lead that.
I will close my eyes too, so don't be
Mm.
irritated. So just take a deep breath in. You can put one hand, your left hand on your tummy, right hand on your heart. Take a deep breath in to connect to your body. We invite your soul now into your life. You can give the allowance if you want. to invite your soul and your heart to guide your life. To help you find your way, and show you what you should look at, maybe what would be good to change, without judgments, just to help you feeling better and feeling more aligned in your journey. Take your breath to connect with your heart and your belly. And if you want, you can feel like your veins turn into roots flowing through your legs, through your feet, right into Mother Earth. Like you're grounded on this beautiful planet. Being in touch with the Mother, the Earth. And if you want, you can also connect. Imagine your hair is like roots into the sky, being connected to the sky. However, without any religious connotation, calling it Father Sky. And feeling connected from the earth and the sky as a human in your heart. And asking and allowing the feminine and masculine being balanced in yourself and aligned to prepare you for a new life, a beautiful life on this earth. And allowing yourself to be the soul, human, and heart you're meant to be from the very within. And giving your inner allowance to that if you want. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here and being who you are.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And you're sending everyone off now with that real balance and connection, which was just lovely. Where can people connect with you if they want to find out more? What's the best website?
Depending on the subject. like I think we put in my personal website, and you'll find we can give my email address. If you feel interested, just don't hesitate, just write me. Do not have all this Calendly stuff because I'm hesitating.
So you're happy for me to put those in the
Yes, I'm just putting, let's
below?
just put it there, and then
Okay.
yeah, follow
It'll
your
be,
guidance.
yes.
If you feel guided to the magazine, my personal site, if you feel
Mm.
called for coaching, listen to your guidance. That will give you the right thing to do.
Well, thank you again, Gabrielle. It's been a real pleasure to chat to you today, and I look forward to doing it again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, and yeah, thank you very
A
much.
real pleasure. So thank you everyone for watching. I would ask you to kindly share, like, subscribe, all those lovely things, because the more people that watch this, the more I can attract other wonderful guests like Gabrielle onto the show. Thank you again for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.